I've been really depressed lately.
Care to elaborate?
Recently, I've lost a loved one, and I feel that I must stay strong for my family who also lost them. What do I do?
Yeah, I don't really know what to do. But you know what this really reminds me of?
What?
As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner.
You mean the influential American novel? Look, it might not make me feel better, but maybe you and some other people can go over the novel's themes, historical influence, connection to American literature, and analysis of its style.
Oh my gosh, wait. You're like 5 steps ahead of me because I was about to do exactly that without even asking you. Thank you. Anyway, check this out.
As I Lay Dying takes place in the Deep South, where families would often make honest livings off of farming. It tells the tale of a small farming family trying to grant their mother's last wish. The family's way of life embodies Southern American culture. During the time of the novel, the Great Depression was negatively impacting America. Families focused on raising one crop on farms to sell, which would not offer them enough money to survive during the Great Depression. On Southern farms, each member of a family would do their part to contribute to the farm's overall well-being and profit. Children were expected to work fields, tend to animals, wash clothes, and cook meals. Men usually were the ones to tend to the fields and animals, whilst women cooked and cared for the family and the home. However, the Great Depression decreased the prices of crops, usually forcing farmers to sell their farms out of bankruptcy. For the Bundrans, this economic deflation made their lives even more challenging as a Southern farming family. Financial sacrifices and priorities affected the Bundrans' choices during their journey. As I Lay Dying is an important novel in the American literature curriculum because it portrays struggles farming families in the deep south of America faced during the Great Depression, which was the most influential financial crisis of American history.
The context within the novel is important, but so is the life of the author that wrote it. William Faulkner was born in 1897 in Mississippi. His birth and life in the South informed the setting of many of his novels. Many of his stories were influenced by stories he heard from his family as a child, and his Southern influence, as well as his complicated feelings toward the past of the South, informed his later novels. He initially excelled in school before facing a steep decline in grades and eventually dropping out of high school. He tried to join the U.S. military, but was rejected for his short stature of 5'5", joining the Canadian Air Force instead. Although Faulkner never fought in the First World War, he told others that he did. After his brief military involvement, Faulkner moved back to Mississippi and attended the University of Mississippi for 3 semesters before dropping out. He wrote poetry throughout this time, but wrote his novels after dropping out. Faulkner's novels were unique due to the majority of them taking place in a fictional county of his creation, giving them a cohesion and sense of cultural identity rarely seen throughout an entire bibliography. Dying in 1967, it is undeniable that Faulkner's writings had a unique impact on American literary identity, as his experiences in the South during the turn of the century informed his novels so thoroughly.
As I Lay Dying uses the perspectives of many different characters, mostly including the family members. Each has a different way of speaking and a different way of interpreting their situations. It is a unique and intriguing style of writing. However, the language can be a bit confusing sometimes.
Because I said, will I or won't I, when the sack was half full, because I said, if the sack is full when we get to the woods, it won't be me. I said, if it don't mean for me to do it, the sack will not be full, and I will turn up the next row. But if the sack is full, I cannot help it. It will be that I had to do it all the time and I cannot help it.
What?
What?
Some characters use more metaphor than others.
And as I lay dying, the main argument that is being portrayed by the author William Faulkner is that death does not take any form, but rather takes different forms on different people and their perspectives. In this novel, the words that come out of the characters' mouths and the thoughts that they think changes the way events are looked upon.
For the mood of the novel, I would say it was very gloomy. Almost everybody in the family experienced a consistency with their emotions. However, I would say that the mood was not the most influential aspect of the novel, but it was still there, so I would give it an 8 out of 10. Reflection of the reader's personal beliefs. As I Lay Dying is hardly a political book. In fact, the only political references made were about women's rights and abortion, which were very briefly mentioned. Overall, it just touches upon the fact that everybody experiences grief, and for this reason, I will give this aspect of the book a 6 out of 10. For the tone of the novel, the perspective in this book is constantly changing, so we get a glimpse of one person's mind and then another's. We get to see how the characters organize their thoughts distinctly, which constantly creates tone. Therefore, we give this category a 9 out of 10. Internal consistency. Honestly, all the narratives in the novel provided a more coherent and put-together story. So, this aspect of the novel was pretty good, and I'll give it a 10 out of 10.